Ready? Ready. So let's talk. Hello, welcome to Let's Talk. I'm Salley Gibney. Our show today is Let's Talk about homelessness in Bennington County. Today, more and more children and adults are facing homelessness. My guest today is Chris Oldham. Hello, Chris. How are you?
Hi, Sally. I'm great. Thank you.
You are the Executive Director of Bennington County Coalition for the Homeless.
I am.
Yes, I'm so glad to have you
Oh,
here.
thank you very much. It's nice to be here.
Now, Chris, let's start off. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Myself? Well, I'm born and raised in Bennington.
Wow. So you are a true Vermonter.
I am, yep. Third or fourth generation.
Wow,
yeah,
that's impressive.
And then I went off to Castleton State College, and I decided to come back to Bennington after I left there, and ran for office. I was on the select board for 9 years.
Weren't you the youngest ever?
I was one of them, yeah. I was 22 when I was elected,
Wow.
yeah.
Can you imagine?
It was a lot of pressure and a lot to learn. I'll tell you.
What started you thinking about that?
Well, I've always been into politics, and I've always been interested in helping the less fortunate. And I thought that maybe in that role I can
Make a
difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I worked for New England newspapers for a while. I was an interpreter for the deaf,
wow.
for a few years. My brother is deaf, so I had an in on the the sign language.
Yeah,
and,
you certainly.
And then I had an opportunity to be in this position as the director for the coalition, and I've worked.
Were you on the board earlier?
Yeah, I worked with the coalition on different capacities. On the board, I was an assistant director about 10 years ago. I was a volunteer. Homelessness is a passion of mine, and combating homelessness. And when I was growing up, we were poor. To say the least, and we struggled. I remember dealing with a lot of that with my mother. So I think that's one of the reasons why when I went off to college, I wanted to come back and get right into helping other people.
You really have a sense of what it's like.
I do.
Yeah.
I was never homeless, but we were close, But I feel like my experiences growing up put me in this position. So.
Oh, I would really think so.
Yeah.
I think having a sense of what it's like, I think for all of us, you hear about it, you read about it, you even go and see it.
Yeah.
But you really, unless you've actually faced it,
Right.
don't have a true sense of it. So that's what makes you so valuable in this role. So tell me, Chris, now what's going on with the coalition now?
We have a lot going on, actually. So we are projecting that there are about 450 homeless individuals in Bennington County.
Wow.
A lot of them are children.
I know.
Statewide, we're looking at about 1,500 homeless individuals. About 25% of the homeless population are children. So that in itself poses quite a challenge. We are just barely scratching the surface. I mean, we have waiting lists at our family shelter. Even with a new shelter that just opened up in February, we still have to turn folks away, and we have 16 beds.
And those are singles in the new shelter?
The new shelter, yeah.
Right.
We work with single homeless individuals. We do keep the families separate in a different shelter. And that shelter is called Thatcher House. And we have 9 families at a time there. But the waiting list, families trying to get into the shelter, we're up to about 17 families.
Oh my goodness,
Just
who
waiting.
are just waiting to get in.
So as soon as we have a family that moves into permanent housing, we have another family waiting to get right in. So
what's happening to those families as they're waiting?
That's a good question. Sometimes they are living in motels. Sometimes they are couch surfing.
I was just going to say, maybe you could explain to us what couch surfing means.
So it is basically when families look for, they don't have permanent housing, so they're jumping from one family member to a friend's house or a coworker, so they're constantly bouncing
Sometimes
from
a
one
car.
place. A car. Yep.
Wow.
In the summer and the spring, we find them camping at our state parks or. So there are quite a few, and that 450, I have to tell you, is a estimate.
Yeah, I'm sure there are so many people that we don't even know about.
And that's the thing, is we're also seeing, there's so many out there that are on the verge of homelessness.
That's a very important issue, I think. You know, just being on the edge, hanging on by your fingernails.
And all it takes is one, incident where someone gets sick in the family, or they lose a job, or something along those lines. So, and we're also seeing a new kind of homelessness, and that's the working homeless. This population works full-time at minimum wage, and they cannot sustain their housing because...
Well, how can you on minimum wage? I mean, if you have a family, just food and everything else, I mean, how can you live on that?
It is not a livable wage, unfortunately. So, and one of the things that I try to get across is that homelessness has no face. So when you're looking at the folks that we serve, we serve women who are escaping toxic environments or domestic situations. We are working with the elderly, veterans, disabled.
And there's a high percentage of veterans who are homeless.
There are, yeah. There are services for them that most don't, get to experience, but there are quite a few, and I've always said that the hardest time in a veteran's life should never be on the streets of the country that they serve.
Absolutely.
So that's a really difficult scenario. But if you look at the 16 people that we have at the shelter right now, 5 of them are above the age of 50.
Wow. Now, Chris, let's talk about the 2 different shelters that you have.
Yeah.
First, let's talk about the single shelter.
Yep.
Which is the new shelter.
It is. We call it 966 Main, and it happens to be on 966 Main Street in Bennington. And for the last about 2 years, I'd say, we were trying to, first of all, meet the need of the community. I mean, we had a shelter on North Street called the Good Shepherd, and we had 6 beds. It was not handicap accessible. So when I took this role as a director 2 years ago, I knew that this job was going to be challenging.
Oh yeah.
Not just because we're looking at, we're trying to serve so many homeless, people in the community, but we didn't have the facilities or the money to be able to expand and to better meet the need.
I think a lot of people were just not even aware that you existed.
That's true.
Or what the need was. So as you took on this role, you've done an amazing, incredible job with what you started with. I mean, it's mind-boggling.
Yeah, well, I can't take all the credit. I have an amazing team, that pulls together and goes above and beyond. So.
Well, as they say, the buck stops here.
Yeah.
But anyway, so go on about the new shelter.
So like I said, it wasn't accessible. We only had 6 beds, so we were turning away on average of 6 to 12 individuals because we had no room to take them. Yeah. So we worked really hard to raise some money and connect with community partners, and we eventually bought 966. And we had to go through about 4 or 5 months of renovations to bring it up to code because we wanted to make sure that it was accessible for everyone. So we spent nearly $80,000 in renovations to bring this. And there
also, you also had to convince the community around you that it was going to be safe,
right?
And that it was.
Well, the important thing is, and I always say too, when you want to help the homeless, the first thing that you should do is start with stigma, because as I mentioned earlier, homelessness has no face.
Right.
And when you present the idea of opening a homeless shelter in a community, immediately folks have that mindset that this is a place that's dangerous, that's full of alcoholics and drug addicts, and but what's unique to 966 Main is that we operate more of a group home. So those who stay there, they're getting the case management, the employment readiness support, peer-to-peer counseling, budget counseling.
Wow.
So it is a program. We're more than just a bed, and we strive for sustainable solutions.
Now, the people who come there, I mean, I'm sure there are different people who want to come every other night. How do you work that? I mean, are people able to come for a prolonged period of time, or is it just a one night and they come in, first come, first serve?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, that's another great question. And originally, it was a first come, first serve basis. So the folks would line up at 5 o'clock when the shelter opened. And if they got a bed, great. If they didn't get a bed, then it was really unfortunate. And they did have to turn people away every night. One of the things that concerned me was just the line.
Wow.
When they had to line up at 5 o'clock, and it's in a busy commercial area, so you might as well just hold a sign that says, "Hey, I'm homeless." So
exactly.
it really does a number to one's dignity and self-respect. So we got rid of the line completely, and we instituted what we call a rolling admission. So it is first come, first serve, but when you're in there, you're in there. So in the program, the prior program, they might come in on a Monday, and we may not see them again until Friday. So we weren't actually able to get to the cause of homelessness and help them come up with a solution.
It was just a stopover.
That's it.
Yeah.
Now that we, as soon as we do the intake, they're with us for 3 to 4 months. They can keep their stuff there. It's their home, and they're getting the services that they need. And what that's done is reduce the time of homelessness, because we can work with them every single day.
So you have that shelter, and now it's been amazing. You raised the money for this. It was just a miracle.
Yeah.
It really.
The community was very supportive. So we had mentioned, the whole community, vision of this, and I did have to sell it. I had to let people know that this is not your typical shelter. That we are more than just a bed. But I think, our reputation in the last 2 years has improved so much with the work that we've been doing that we did not get much pushback.
You've been a very visible person in the community, and I think that your presence has sort of made a huge difference with everything that's going on. So now let's talk about the family shelter.
The family shelter, Thatcher House.
Yeah.
That is
it's such a wonderful old building.
It is, it really
so
is.
Charming
it's we have 9 units, so we're able to take 9 families at a time. But we're also running into the same situation that we ran into with the original Good Shepherd shelter, is that it's not accessible.
Right.
It needs a lot of work. I mean, the building itself is nearly 200 years old.
Right.
And we don't own that building.
I see. So you're renting it.
So we are renting that.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and there's some issues with the electric and the plumbing and all of that stuff that becomes costly to us. So we are actively working towards replacing that now. Now that we have the new shelter open, it opened in February, we've switched gears and
looking at a family.
And now we're looking at opening a new family shelter.
Is this a new building, or would you be purchasing a building?
This would be a brand new facility. Wow. The idea is to increase capacity, to improve habitability, meaning these units that they stay in have to be up to date and accessible, and accessibility is the other one.
Right.
So we want to make sure that folks who have physical limitations, who are homeless, can utilize our services.
I know I was there with my grandchildren last week, and it was amazing. There was a family there. We didn't meet the family because of anonymity, but a father with 5 children, 3 little girls and 2 boys. And I know when my grandchildren looked at the unit, they were like, "Oh my gosh, that many people here?"
They're small units. They're efficiency.
I mean, I think one of the things that has impacted me in working with you is I had no clue, absolutely no clue what the situation was or what was available.
Right.
And when you see it and you realize, what people are up against.
Right.
It's huge.
It is daunting.
And the children, children don't deserve, nobody deserves it, but children especially.
It is extremely hard on the kids, for sure.
Yeah.
Right now, we have 12 children staying at the shelter.
Wow.
Yeah.
All ages.
All ages. I think, newborn to, I think the oldest one is 13.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. How do they cook within their unit or?
Yeah, so each unit is independent. I mean, they have their own bathroom, their own kitchen. It is not the Hilton or the Marriott by any means.
Yeah.
It's actually just an efficiency apartment, which is another reason why it's important for us to replace this particular building with a new one, because we are putting families of 4, 5, and in this case, 8 into efficiency apartments.
Yeah.
It is certainly a better alternative than the street or wherever,
exactly.
but
And they're together, which is a positive piece.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
But it is very difficult.
Yeah.
So
I think again, no one should be homeless, but the faces of the children
yeah.
is what really, really has touched me. And I think, as a grandmother, I think of it as, let's teach our children what's going on and see
Right.
how they can make a difference. And that's a really important
Well,
piece.
we love the opportunity of having kids come in to take a look at what's going on. I was really happy that you brought your grandchildren down.
Yeah.
We also have a little girl that makes beanbag buddies.
Wow, tell me about that.
Well, her and her mom sew these little pillows stuffed with rice, and you put them in the microwave, and they heat up, and they stay warm for a while. So, yeah, so she makes them, and we give them out to the children that stay there.
Did she come up with this idea herself?
Yeah. Yep.
Wow, children are amazing.
They are. And we have another little boy that brings little packets of toothpaste and toothbrushes and things like that, little care packages. So.
Well, I know when we teach our children or share with our children, I know if they don't come here knowing, it's up to us
Right.
to teach them.
Absolutely.
And I know with Lily and Alan, they were so touched by it that they said, "We've got more stuff at home, Grammy, we can bring."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, you know what? I'm sure there's a shelter near you in your community where you could bring it there and
Right.
tell your friends about it and have them share as well."
Absolutely,
Because I think as we get the word out there, it's just so important.
It is, and it's important to let them know that no matter how big you are, you can really make a big difference.
Absolutely,
in someone's life.
and that it's fine to have, but you have to share. You're part of this human family,
Right.
and we have a responsibility to each other. So, Chris, all of this, I mean, the issue is so huge. With what we're hearing about, cuts that are coming down, how is that affecting you?
Actually, it's affecting us more now than ever. The state of Vermont did cut GA funding, which is a pool of money that helps homeless shelters and also pays for motel vouchers. So in the event that a shelter is full, sometimes, depending on the weather, a motel voucher is issued, and they can spend the night in the motel rather than out on the street. And that's really just a Band-Aid approach, by the way. This is not something that is sustainable. So,
and it's not helping them change
yeah.
their situation.
So that's one of the reasons why we wanted to expand our services, is because we offer more than just a bed, we are an alternative to a motel. However, the state legislature has cut funding for homeless programs and motel vouchers. And the Coalition for the Homeless has also experienced a major cut in state funding. So that puts a lot of pressure on us. I mean, we are bound and determined to expand to be able to help more families and individuals. That becomes more challenging when funding is cut.
Absolutely.
And we completely understand the ways, the burden on the taxpayer and so on and so forth.
Right.
But everyone is feeling it. So when we write a grant to a corporation or we look for donors, privately, everyone is sort of holding on to their pocketbooks a little tighter. So.
Yeah.
So we have
and
to
also
be
there are more
creative.
and more people looking for the funds.
That is.
So you're competing with so many worthwhile organizations.
Yep.
It's not like,
Yeah. And in a community like Bennington County, where the coalition is looking for money just like the wrestling team or the Girl Scouts and
And then you have ROC, and you have all of those, PACE, you have all of those different organizations, and people, I'm sure, are thinking, well, you know, I can't give to all, how do I do it? So,
right, so we have to be really creative with how we raise money. Coming into our new fiscal year, which actually starts the 1st of July, we have to raise about $120,000 ourselves, which is a lot of money. You know, so that we have to be creative with our payroll and, you know, our staffing, and without making too many cuts. You know, so it's,
and you know, it's sort of like a catch-22, because you make these cuts, which can't help but cut back on services, and then these people become more and more needy, and so it just snowballs.
Yeah.
So what can we as individuals, how can we help?
Well, there's a lot that you could do. I mean, like I said, first and foremost, start with stigma. Forget about what you think a homeless person looks like or what they're going through, because every case is completely unique. And just by listening to a homeless person, your life will be changed. Because you know you would be hearing stories that you can't even imagine, you know, as to why they became homeless, and so on and so forth, the struggles that they face on a daily basis. It's easy for us to go home and complain about the day, but your refrigerator is mostly, you know, you're stocked. You're going into a nice warm bed, and you're going to have a television that you can sit in front of. But there are so many people in our own community that you pass every day that don't get those luxuries.
You just never, and the children never know. I said to Lily and Ellen, I said, you might be sitting next to a child in school who's homeless, and you don't even know it. You don't know what's going on in other people's lives. It's just mind-boggling. So as you say, just getting the word out there.
Get the word out. The next thing, you know, you can do is certainly donate some money. You know, I'm not shy about that. That we cannot.
Well, you need it.
Yeah, we cannot function without it.
Yeah, exactly.
So any kind of contribution that goes to the coalition goes directly into services and operations to keep us running. So that is really important.
We could talk forever. Do you have a success story to tell us?
We've got many.
I'm sure.
We served 350 homeless individuals last year.
Wow.
And with the opening of the new shelter, we're on track to serve many more this year. So one story that sticks in my mind is Candy Hull. Yeah, Candy is someone who they had a nice piece on her in the Bennington Banner not too long ago, and the caption was "Ready to take on the world."
I love it.
Yeah. Candy is someone who lost her job, fell into depression, got into prescription drugs, became homeless. She was homeless for 2 years, and she was scared to death to come to the homeless shelter. But she knew that she had to change her life, or she would die, basically. She was really concerned. So she made that choice to come to the shelter. She was lucky enough to get into the program. She stayed with us for about a year. We helped her basically get back on her feet. So then we hired her recently as part of the staff at the new shelter.
Wow.
She has her own place. She's going back to school to become a counselor.
Wow.
She does some work, you know, and it's interesting for her to be at the shelter because she's gone through it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So it's important for her to be in that role because
kind of share her story.
Exactly,
with folks who are there.
and her line is, "If I can do it, you can do it."
Which is great.
Yes, so she's been clean and sober for over 2 years.
Wow.
She has her own place. She's going back to school, and now she's coming back to help us out in different ways. So
that's so neat.
Yeah,
that is so great.
And she is the recipient of the Salley Gibney "You Are Never Alone" scholarship that we just started last year.
Well, that's touches my heart.
Yeah,
touches my heart. Now you have an event coming up, I understand.
We do. Yep. So this is the first annual Working Together, Making a Difference banquet. And we're holding at the Taconic here in Manchester. This is our first event in Manchester. So we're pretty excited about that.
Yeah, yeah.
One of the things that we did a couple of years ago is we added the word county to our name. So because we do serve Bennington County,
Right.
you know, so
there are people all the way up the county.
Yeah, I think we served 30 individuals from the North Shire this past year.
And I'm sure there are more out there that
Oh
we don't
yeah,
know
there
about.
definitely
You
are.
know, and as people become more aware, there will be more and
Right.
more. Yeah.
So the event is August 19th, and this is a little unique. So in the past, we've done annual dinners, and we usually throw an auction in, and a dance, and so on and so forth. This event is more of an appeal. So we want to invite folks from Manchester area and throughout the county, really, who are not familiar with what we do at the Coalition, who may not even be familiar that there, that there's even a homeless issue. Get them all into one room, serve them a meal, and then give them a presentation on just where we've come and where we're going.
So you're inviting these people to sponsor a table so that they can. Is that,
we are,
is that
yep.
what you're doing?
So we are selling tables, and we're looking for hosts. That might be a business, or that might be I think you signed on to be a host.
I have.
I appreciate that. So the host basically is responsible for filling their table with their friends. Kind of reminding the friends that this is a fundraiser, so bring your checkbook along. But also, we are taking this opportunity to teach the community of what we do.
Right.
So the beginning of the event, we'll have an award ceremony, which will be giving out the Salley Gibney scholarship to our second recipient.
Wow.
And we'll give out an Employee of the Year, and we'll recognize some community partners. And then we'll have a presentation that will include a video of the program, and you'll hear stories from some of our folks that we've served over the years. And then we have Joseph Wooten. I think he's
he's
very
such
popular up here.
He is, and he is so much an advocate for the homeless. You know, when he travels around the country, he goes to shelters, he talks to kids in schools, and homelessness is a very, very important issue to him.
He's very passionate
and of course,
about
his music is fabulous.
It is. So he is our keynote speaker. So he's a 3-time Grammy-nominated a recording artist, and he is an author. He just came out with a book.
His book is fabulous.
Yeah,
he has shared his insights with us, and oh my gosh.
And he is a member of the Steve Miller Band. So we're going to bring him.
More could you ask for?
I know, right? And he's a heck of a guy. I'll tell you, he. Every time I get a chance to talk with him or see him, and I'm just blown away by his. He's
a great guy.
Yeah.
He and Stephanie are dear friends, and I'm thrilled that they're going to be.
So they're going to come up, and he will perform for us, a couple of his songs, and
he has a new song that we're all in this together.
Yeah.
And it's one of those that you could kind of go back. Oh, it is so.
So he will be
powerful.
playing that for us, that night, and then at the end, I'll get back on the podium, and I'll say, this is the Coalition. This is what we've done.
This is who we are.
This is where we're going. And if you feel so inclined to support us in one way or another, this is your opportunity.
We appreciate it. That's great. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
I think it's, the whole thing is just so amazing, and the need is so great. And I want to thank you so much, because you have been such a gift to the Coalition and to the whole community, and you are just a very neat guy.
Thank you very much.
And a good friend. And for all of you out there, I hope that you have gotten a little bit of more insight into the homelessness in our community, because it's very real and the needs are great. So I want to thank you all for joining us, and I want to thank you, Chris, for being here.
Thank you very much.
And until next time, keep talking. Ready? Ready. So let's talk.